What's up, guys? I'm back. I'm back here in a video today. Okay, folks. So I'm back here in a video today, obviously. So right now, I'm gonna be doing an album review for some metal music and stuff. Like just one new, folks. So the band I got here and stuff is Gorguts once again, but this time the album I got here is of the debut album called Considered Dead and stuff. Like just one new, folks. So folks, like you guys can obviously see, I'm back to reviewing Gorguts once again and stuff. Like a death metal band from Canada, like part of like the old school death metal scene and stuff. And one new, folks. So for this album I got here, Considered Dead, it's the first album and stuff. Like just one new, folks. And from what I'm reading here, this album was released in 1991 and stuff. Like just one new, folks. So it was released in the great year of 1991. I'm just like legendary metal albums that were released in 1991 and stuff. Folks, like there are a bunch of great bands that released metal albums in 1991 and stuff. Like some bands like Death, Morbid Angel, Immolation. We got Sepultura and others. Like I could name a bunch more that released albums in 1991, but that'll be boring and stuff. Like just one new, folks. Deals, just great. So, folks, if we're going over the track list on this album, what I'm looking at here, like, I'm trying to look at the track list and stuff. Like, just one new, folks. It's looking like there's, from what I'm looking at here, there's a total of 10 tracks and stuff. Like, just one new, folks. But the opening song is 43 seconds long. And then comes Lividi or something, which to me that doesn't even sound like a full song. It feels like an intro that is like leads into the first actual song on the album and stuff. Like just one new, folks. Deals, just great. So folks, so what I'm looking at here is that like this album had what I'm looking at here is that this album had guest appearances from like other musicians. So like other legendary metal musicians, or like other legendary death metal musicians were featured on this album. We got James Murphy, who played the solo on Inoculated Life, and we got Chris Barnes, who was featured on vocals on tracks 5, 6, and 9 and stuff. Like just one new, folks. So anyways, right now is basically when you guys are gonna hear me talk about my thoughts on the album. So first, you guys are gonna hear me talk about the music style and what I noticed. So one thing I noticed is that like this album was obviously released early '90s. So like you guys obviously heard me say earlier, it's probably like the old school death metal, obviously, and stuff. And what I noticed is that like there's obviously lots of fast playing going on, like technical playing and stuff, like lots of fast playing, but also plenty of groove parts and stuff, and like heavy powerful riffs and stuff. Like there's plenty of them. Like I thought the drummer did his thing. Like the drummer went off on this album. Same with the one after this and stuff. Steven Provencher is the drummer that play on this album, and one new folks, and he did his thing and stuff, like just one new folks. And not gonna lie, like this album, I don't know this for sure, so like if there are any of you guys who like play instruments and all of that stuff, you guys might have opinions on this, but to me this sounds difficult to play. Like just like the way that these guys play sounds difficult. Like just same thing with the album after this. Like I don't know why, but to me just the way they play on this album sounds difficult. Like just like with the technical playing and stuff. Like to me it sounds difficult. Like and now imagine it is and stuff. Like just one new folks. And not gonna lie, to me this album kind of Gorguts' first two albums kind of borderline brutal death metal in a way and stuff. Like I'm not saying they're brutal death metal albums, but they just like remind me of, like they have the elements, but not like fully brutal death metal and stuff. Like just one new folks. Folks, imagine something like Suffocation. I imagine they would be brutal death metal, because like I've heard a few songs from Suffocation, especially like the first two albums, and to me those songs sound more like brutal death metal, like close enough and stuff. Like just one new folks. Deals great. So folks, if we're going over some of my favorite tracks on the album, I'd say some of my favorites would have to be I'd say some of my favorite tracks would have to be Waste of Morality and Inoculated Life and stuff. Like, I'd say those would have to be some of my favorite tracks on the album. But like, so last thing before I end off today's video, the vocalist, Luke. So like his vocals is similar. I wouldn't say his vocals is exactly the same like the album after this, but one thing I noticed that like his vocals is a lot like the album after this. So it was like he obviously features the like guttural vocals, but like some of his, like, not gonna lie, some of his vocal deliveries on this album sounded weird to me. I don't know why. It's just like I don't know what it was about his vocals on this album and stuff, but I didn't really mind it and stuff. But I'd say I liked Luke. I liked Luke's vocals more on The Erosion of Sanity than this album, Considered Dead and stuff. Like, what new folks? Deals just gory. So folks, like, there's not really much for me to go over right now and stuff. Like, there's not much, and right now is basically what I'm going to be ending today's video off and stuff. Like, I don't want to go any further with today's video. Like, I simply don't, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out, everybody.